Welcome to Perspectives in Peds, or PIP for short, your go-to podcast for insights into paediatric practice. From clinical approaches and emerging research to the everyday wins and challenges, we bring you OT perspectives that inform, inspire and spark conversation.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Pipcast.
Hi Jack.
I'm joined by Caitlin today and Danny.
Hello.
And we are going to chat about returning back to practice after extended leave. So the reason we sort of thought the three of us would chat was probably because we've had some recent or recent-ish maternity leave. It feels recent.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I'm like coming up to 3 years back
now.
Yeah.
And Danny is only just back for the second time. So whilst we're talking about maternity leave from our lived experience, I suppose, we want to make it a practical episode where we can kind of hope to give some tips just around returning from any extended leave. And we have had staff members who have, taken like leave of absence to, I guess travel or, do different family things or take personal leave and that kind of thing. So we hope that it's relevant for everyone, but we will be talking about our experience as mums quite a bit.
Absolutely.
So that's our disclaimer. So I guess we'll kick it off with let's start with a big one, which is what do we feel was the most challenging thing about taking leave? Who wants to kick it off?
I'm happy to because I feel like I was just really in this challenge area, I guess. And I am, anyone who has listened to the podcast would know before, would know that I am extremely passionate about my job as an OT and hold that role to a very high importance in my life. So I guess there was the difficulties I had in taking leave was probably multifaceted. So a big part of my difficulty was losing relevance or fear of losing relevance, and that I had built up quite a big sort of project responsibility prior to leaving. I held a caseload of clients that I'd held for a very long time. And so that was really difficult in terms of having a lot of clients who had been with me for a really long time who were actually at really pivotal points of their own development. So I had clients who were heading into year 7 or who had just started year 7, who had been with me for a really long time, who a lot of which were going through quite challenging areas of their own development in life. And so that was really challenging. So I guess, there was the project side of things. There was also the client side of things in terms of relevance. I would say as well, the quick shift of what happens funding-wise around us was really hard for me because I felt like NDIS was making such huge changes and I was so fearful of not knowing what was going on. Even when I'm back at practice, I don't know what's going on. So I feel like
that hasn't changed.
That fear's dropped off.
I really are full-time, don't know what's going on.
Yeah. I would say the thing that was different this time about the first time that I took parental leave, though, was that I was less fearful about career development this time. I think I took parental leave for the first time when I had only been an occupational therapist for 3 years, and I was really fearful about people around me moving up in their careers and me not. This time I think I was more confident in my position within my career, and I had worked really hard for those 4 years between babies to make sure that I had my career at a point that I was really confident in leaving it and knowing that I was coming back and stepping back into a point where I was really, happy with where my career was. So that was different this time around, I would say.
Yeah.
What about you, Katie?
I would say similar things. I think, I've only taken the 1 year of parental leave and I was worried about what that would look like going from full-time and coming back not full-time. I used to say all the time, like, I don't know how, we had a couple of part-timers at the time, I don't know how they do this job in a part-time capacity.
It's hard.
So I had concerns about my ability to not take work home and be able to be present as a parent, and that adjustment, I suppose. I think as well, like you said, Dan, I did have some like not concerns but thoughts around like where my role sits when I come back as well, especially coming back part-time again. And when I went on leave, the senior role that I had stepped into we hadn't been doing that for that long. Like I think in thinking back, the other Caitlin and I were kind of almost like alternating, like our responsibilities were shared and I would do one kind of senior day and let her know what I did and she would then pick it up the next week. And then I came back and there was kind of like, oh, this is your responsibility now, this is mine. And I was like, oh, this is different. So
the team had also grown.
I was going to say
that was definitely going to come up. But I think 6 or 7 people were employed in the time. So yeah, I hadn't really thought of that going into parental leave, but whilst I was on leave, I was like, oh my goodness, that is a completely different team now. I think a couple people maybe resigned, or I think I was on parental leave at the same time as one of the other OTs, and then they communicated that they weren't coming back, and I was kind of like, oh, this is going to be really different. For someone that had been at KidLink, I think 5 or 6 years at that point in time, I felt very comfortable in the team that I was in.
I remember thinking that you weren't going to stay when you came back from, which was my biggest fear. For those of you who don't know, Katie and I are best friends, so I was like, oh, don't leave me.
Anyway,
but it was such, my best friend was going to leave me. But it was such a huge shift because were we even at the new clinic before you left?
So I was pregnant at the time that we moved in.
Yes.
And I at the time it was kind of the end of COVID as well. So when I was pregnant, we did some telehealth sessions. I don't think I saw many, if any, like really face-to-face whilst I was pregnant. It was a short period of time. And yeah, we were still kind of getting used to this space. And so it was quite different in coming back, that it was like part-time, different team, different place. So it was just that fear of, I mean, you say relevant, like knowing what my position really like was and my role on the team, and did people know who I was?
Yeah.
All of that kind of thing. Additionally, I think you always think about what it means for your clients. We see clients on a fortnightly basis, and like you said, they're generally quite long-standing clients. So what that meant for some kids that I've been seeing for years to then transition to a new therapist, and would that impact their progress and their outcomes, and would I be seeing them when I come back, or am I getting new clients? And
I actually this time around had 2 clients who, due to different reasons, could not be handed over. Or their own, it was their own could not my could not be handed over to new clinicians. And that is something that I really had to learn how to let go of for that reason, because it's not within your control. You have to live your life at the same time. And I think that's something for listeners to really bear in mind. If you are going to take extended leave, that can't be your responsibility to ensure the longevity of someone else's therapeutic work. It has to be, it has to be something that you can, within reason, disconnect from, because you don't have control over that.
absolutely.
I think that's a really good point about that, like, need to actually prepare on a practical level too. Like, you know, for some people that are taking a year, even longer off, like you almost are preparing in a lot of ways like you're exiting. Yeah. Like there is a lot of like preparation in terms of handovers and preparing your clients and when if they are discharging, like doing that responsibly and all of those kinds of things. There's lots of real, I guess, practicalities of going on maternity leave, confirming dates, confirming when you're coming back, discussing potential keeping in touch responsibilities, all of those kinds of things. There's a lot of just preparation to actually going on leave.
And I'm aware that other clinics and practices might do it differently, but we don't particularly hire like a maternity leave cover that just takes our caseload for the period of time. We treat it as you're being handed over to that clinician.
Yes.
And it's likely you'll stay with that clinician now. So I think preparing that might be different if you work somewhere where you're like, I'll see you in 12 months, but somebody's going to work with you in the meantime
Yeah.
as well.
Although, Danny, there's definitely people that are on a very specific wait list for your return. So, so just in case you're escaping that one.
Yeah.
That's definitely.
I'm well aware.
Yeah.
I feel like, I've been here for 8 years and I feel like there are people that I've seen for the majority of that time outside of my 2 stints of parental leave. I think the preparation varies as well. Like I know that we've learnt a lot through lots of our staff members taking extended leave in terms of what needs to be prepared and what needs to. And I know that this time round I learnt something that was really valuable for me was having had discussions with you, Jac, of what my return was going to look like outside of just my hours. So what my return was going to look like in terms of my clinical caseload and my project work and what was I going to be responsible for. And that actually helped solve some of that relevance anxiety because I was like, okay, this is what I'm coming back into. Yeah. And I very cleverly set up OT Link and made it very very much a project that needed to be managed so that I can come back and just do that when I go back. Yeah, so and
I know those that have been holding that, Caitlin Cowie,
very willing,
very
to
happy
hand
to
it
hand it back over.
So I think that was a big part of my preparedness this time, which I didn't have last time. And my anxiety in coming back last time, I think, was due to a lot of that. I didn't know what I was coming back to in terms of responsibilities. And even when you even when your sole role is a clinical caseload, I think it is really still good to have that conversation with your management in regards to what's your role look like when you come back? Is it the same? And if it is, great. And if it isn't, what changes to expect?
How long before you realised not all that much had actually changed after returning?
Well, my team had changed a lot.
Yes. They had, but I guess the fear associated with it, how long till you sort of settled back in? Because I think that is a factor, that it does take a while to forget the fact that you're now a mum and you've got all this other stuff, like just the work element. How long until you actually felt comfortable coming back after an extended period of leave?
I think as a new mother as well, and this isn't the case for everyone, but I think I also needed to juggle the cognitive capacity to learn new information. And honestly, my brain was very fuzzy at that point in time. So it did take a little while to just feel a bit more and learning as well, what I might have missed. So I know when we were planning this, we were talking about that, just that, the ND affirming movement was became really, really big when I was on leave. And I came back to where particular concepts that we might have previously learned.
Is this okay now? Is this okay now?
And somebody was like, oh, we don't really do that anymore. I was like, oh, what? So it does, I'm not going to put a timestamp on it. I think something that really helped though, and I know that we had kind of thought about how we might talk about this as well, but is somewhat staying connected or figuring ways to stay connected during your leave. And that's going to look different if you're, traveling for a year. That's going to look very different to if you are a new parent and that kind of thing. But that helped because I could still have conversations that felt like I was using my OT part of my brain.
Yeah.
Prior to coming back. So I wasn't kind of just coming back to this whole new, I've forgotten how to use this part of my brain.
I'm happy to put a bit more of a timestamp on, only because I had a discussion with Em, one of our colleagues here, who was one of my supervisees before I went on leave. She actually took a term off to travel, and Em and I had discussions about this when she returned. So I've actually reflected on this a little bit from 2 perspectives. Because Em and I had a conversation about, she'd probably been back for a term, and she was she had pretty much a whole new caseload when she came back. And I remember her saying to me, I don't know why it is taking me so long to get through notes and reports. And it didn't take me this long before I went on leave. And I was like, girlfriend, you are you've got a whole new caseload. You're getting to know all of these new presentations, all of these new interventions, all of these shifts and changes in policies that have happened across the 10, 12 weeks that you've been away. And I remember saying to her, I reckon it took me a solid year after my first time away to get back into the swing of things. In saying that, I think I think it will be different this time around. And like you just touched on, Katie, I think a big part of that is I've actually stayed very up to date with what I would say are clinical shifts over and my clinical knowledge over my maternity leave. And a big part of that was utilising my keeping in touch days. So as part of our award that we work under, we get 10 keeping in touch days across parental leave. And I utilised those to develop a lot of presentations and webinars. And that helped so much
because it meant you were spending your time actually looking at like current evidence and current practice. Yeah,
I can't.
Which Danny, in fairness, would have done for nothing. So I really didn't capitalise very well on that.
I definitely didn't.
I don't think I would have had the push to do it, having a newborn at home, had I not been utilising like paid hours. But I would say that definitely, though in saying that, NDIS, I have no idea what's going on there. Again,
it'll change in the next week anyway, darling.
I actually didn't prioritise that because of that reason. So I think that's the other thing, is thinking about how you're going to actually, like, what's going to be most valuable when you come back, what's going to have changed the least and be actually the most valuable to you in if you have time to do professional development or to do paid keeping in touch time, what is going to be most helpful for when you come back to actually maybe shift or alleviate some of those anxieties in regards to, what you were thinking might be challenging when you do return.
I guess my experience was quite different being the director. Like, I never really fully stepped away. Like, I had a really capable team and everyone really chipped in. So it wasn't so much that I couldn't kind of take any extended leave. It was more just for me that I didn't want to.
So control issues? Is that what I hear there?
Well, I feel like Kidling's your first baby.
I really get a lot out of work. Yeah. Like it is it's a huge part of me. So I never wanted to be at home full time. Like it took me a long time to kind of commit to even having kids and all of those things, because I didn't know how I would make that balance work, knowing that I didn't only want to do that.
Yeah.
So I think once
just employ your husband and then then you can make For those of you who don't know, MD is our wonderful tech guy who we actually couldn't do anything without. So we very much need him. So that was just a secret stab that I probably
So I guess during that period of time, like his ability to help with certain things, and as we're expanding a lot of our online stuff, none of us really have that many skills in that area.
We definitely need MD.
Still comes across things that I had a hand in. He's like, what is this? And I'm like, look, we're doing the best we could. I'm an OT.
With what we had.
Yeah. So, I guess from my perspective, like it was very much like I sort of was always still tapping in, even in that newborn phase, for meetings and that kind of thing when I could. And then I sort of have whilst there's pros and cons of being able to actually step away completely, I guess the pro for me is that flexibility in that because I chose to, I could just gradually come back in. Yeah. So I could do a full day and granted, we understand that I'm in a very lucky position that I have a very capable husband that was able to look after my child a day a week, and that he was happy to do that split. And then I very quickly went back to 2. And once I was in, I was like, I'm desperate for 3.
I want more.
And now I'm at 4 days, 4 and a bit days. And I feel like that's a really good balance for me. So I think, I think what the challenge is also the pro for me.
Yeah.
In terms of, yes, it was challenging juggling both, and I still struggle with, I know we've spoken about how you've only got one pie of your capacity in your brain.
I wish I had 2 pies.
And something's got to give. You have to give a slice.
Yeah.
So you can't be just all in with one thing anymore. So the challenge is kind of grieving almost how easy it was before, not knowing that it was easy compared to what it is now. And I think that, there's we don't want to, I guess harp on too much about it because I'm very grateful for my position and that kind of thing. But I do think our generation of working mums that are career driven and want to have both are the first generation who I guess are really experiencing that to the fullness of what that is in terms of, no, we won't compromise. We want to work. We want to have a career, and that doesn't mean we can't also have a family.
Yeah.
And navigating that is the biggest challenge, I think, of not that women before our generation didn't do it, but it definitely wasn't the norm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
suppose.
I think as well, Jack, something that people should be really mindful of is that, because I'm similar to you in that without being a director, KidLink is very much a huge part of my existence. And people laugh at me because I always say, like, I'm 2 and done with my babies, and my 3rd baby is KidLink, even though I am
It's
just
not
an
my
employee.
baby.
But I think that because of that, because I hold KidLink to such high regard in my life and in terms of my roles, and that's a huge part of me, I am very lucky that you also have a big respect for me as a person and respect for my boundaries, because I'm not necessarily always very good at holding my boundaries, and I will often put my hand up for things voluntarily. And I've come to a lot of planning days voluntarily, and but I know that you don't expect that of me. And so I can do that quite safely in that I can tap in and tap out voluntarily or within my keeping in touch, and often bring my baby with me, knowing that my boundaries are very safe because you have a lot of respect for my boundaries. And I think that's really something people should bear in mind as well, is what are your boundaries and how safe are your boundaries within the workplace?
Yeah.
Because I think that you want to really bear that in mind in terms of how much you're opting into or opting out of, to ensure that your boundaries are held safe, because that has been really helpful for me, knowing that I can say to Jack, hey, can I bring Monty in and sit in on planning time? Because I'm just interested. I really just want to know what's going on. But she won't expect me to do that the next month.
Yeah.
And so, and I actually, I really enjoy that. And so it means that I can do it without the expectation. And so I think that's really something that's good for people to bear in mind, is can you do that safely, knowing that that won't be the expectation? Or are you better off actually just opting out because from a health and well-being perspective, you just need to hold that boundary that, no, I'm on maternity leave or I'm on extended leave, and therefore I am not accessible. Exactly right.
Yeah. And I think as a director, I think it's important to work with people, and I'm very fortunate that I do know the people that work for me quite well. We've worked together a long time, and I like to seek to understand what is important to them and respect that where I can. But I think it's my biggest tip as a director is to, I guess, work with the people in front of you. I've always said that, and I think that is the same with any kind of extended leave request. And it's like, are we worse off if this person leaves and or doesn't
we are,
return?
Jackie.
The answer is yes.
And I see that as a privilege, that my answer for everyone I've recruited has been yes. So when people come to me like, I really want to do this endeavor, or I really want to have a baby, or I really want to go on this big holiday, or whatever it is, I'm very much like, what are the long-term implications of me saying no to this? And it's not it's not like I feel like any kind of pressure or guilt trip. It's just the reality of life
and business.
Yeah, and you need to be aware of that there's a perfect scenario for sure, is that like everyone sticks around, they stay for 10 years and
they come back full time.
They come back full time. And that it's all great. But the reality is that that's not how life works. So it is hard in private practice to be family friendly. It
Absolutely.
really is. There's certain ways you just need to operate. And so when you can find ways to compromise and brainstorm together in terms of ways to meet certain objectives flexibly, I think that, you hope that you've got people that are worth it. I guess I'm lucky that is the case. But that's probably the thing that, is like a logistical thing as well, is what will it look like? How will you make it work? And how do you just, I guess in some ways I've had to expand the business when people have had babies, because I don't just want to put someone in for 12 months on a mat leave cover. Like, it takes me 12 months to train someone well enough, and then I've got to say goodbye. So that's not my model. So sometimes like I've just had to grow the team and put rooms in, so I get someone in and then someone wants to come back and it's like, oh, crap.
How do we make it work?
Where do they see clients now?
What a problem to have that staff want to remain in your employment. Oh, man.
So like it gets tricky logistically.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
I think that, knowing that and signing up for that is something that's just part and parcel with running a business, I think. I think that, I guess, reflecting on that, I'd like to know what the pros of coming back, like what do you, I guess, are there any positives to?
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah.
Not just coming back to Kidling.
No.
I mean to manage.
Well, then I'm out. I have no.
Having had that experience of being a mum and coming back working part-time.
Yeah. I think if anyone that is listening that is or has been a new mum will know that there is a great component of it that is quite isolating, and you may miss out on adult interactions and being someone other than a mum or parent in that moment. So like for me, coming back, yes, like talking to other grown-ups was very exciting. But also just doing something that I became an OT because that was for me and that was something I loved and I was passionate about, and coming back to that and being like, this is a part of me that is truly like a core part of me was huge, because I mean, I adore being a mum and I chose to be a mum as well. But separating that, in that environment, I'm very much serving others.
As
before
opposed,
myself,
as opposed to being an occupational therapist. So also,
I mean, I do serve others in my job as well, but that I, finally got to come back to that, this is for me and I'm passionate about this, and I'm sharing that passion with other people that are passionate about it here too.
And I guess to add to that, a big part of, because I wholeheartedly agree with you, and the other component for me is having a sense of competence. So I think I've probably mentioned that before, but that is one of my core values as a human. And being a new mother does not necessarily fulfill competence, I will tell you, even a second time around. And so
every baby's different.
Absolutely. Yeah. And being able to come back into a role, and yes,
takes
like
time.
The first time it took a lot of time, but second time round, because my clinical knowledge, I will say on some things is probably better than other people because of the things that I've been able to keep up to date with while I've been away. I come back feeling like, I got this.
Yeah.
There is something in my life that I'm like, yes, I know how to do this. Yeah. And it is definitely not 8 hours a day when I come back to work that I feel that sense of competence. And I'm sure there will be many times where I will be in tears for that feeling a lack of competence. But it is a huge part is being like, I'm good at this.
Yeah.
And I know how to do this.
Also coming back after a extended period of time off, like just reestablishing routines, actually having a time to get up in the morning and getting out of the house and
getting to have a lunch break.
It is hard, but I feel like, again, as OTs, we talk about, the importance of having routines and structure in our day and meaning. And I think that was huge to actually go, all right, now my days and my weeks actually have a little bit more of a structure to it. Was a huge bonus in coming back to kind of just living and being like, should I get out of my pajamas today? Don't know.
Absolutely.
Michael and I always joke about like, what did we do before? Like outside of work hours, it's like we wasted a ridiculous amount of time because of those. I was like, how was I ever rushed in the morning before? Now getting a 2.5-year-old ready.
Because you were sleeping in, Jack. That's what you were doing.
And then doing self-care.
Washing your hair in the morning.
Probably. I did wash my hair this morning though. Like
impressive.
Thanks. So impressive.
So I think that it is that I think it requires, I've really had to learn far more self-compassion since
Such a good
returning to work, just because even now, like I love being at work, and arguably I think many mums would agree work, like paid work, is often easier than our even how hard our job can be at times. It's a different kind of load and a different kind of mental load and a different kind of work compared to the unpaid work of being a mum. So I come to work and I'm like, wow, this feels like so easy.
9 times out of 10, my 9 to 5 is 10 times easier than my 5 to 9.
Yeah.
I will take a challenging session over a challenging bedtime any day of the week.
So
Huge.
I think that finding that balance and being self-compassionate enough in those times
Such a good point.
is important. So I guess in terms of some of the like mistakes or assumptions that could potentially have been made or that you make, what are some things that we could help people to mitigate?
Thinking that your brain, coming back from parental leave, thinking that your brain would work at the same speed that it did prior to one of our beautiful ex-colleagues, actually, who's a close friend of ours, all of ours, Jess, has just come back from maternity leave, and she's got a beautiful 12-month-old in a couple of days, actually, and she's just come back from maternity leave, and she was telling me the other day that she couldn't even juggle the multiple tabs that she had open on her 2 screens when she first, because she was like, my brain just did not function. She said it was running like 60% slower than it usually does. And I thought that I would come back and be able to hold a full caseload, do all of the things that I previously did at the speed that I did them. That was a big mistake. And I would say even like Em and Caitlin Cowie, who took terms off for travel, said the same thing. So even without having postpartum baby brain, they came back being like, whoa, it takes a longer time.
To shift back into that
Absolutely.
mindset. I know we talked about as well, like how important communication with your director is, or boss, or whoever it is, in terms of your return and what that looks like, in terms of if we're thinking like mistakes and assuming things in coming back. I know, and one of my girlfriends who isn't an allied health clinician, but she assumed her role would be part-time after parental leave, and in having those conversations closer to that time, they were like, oh no, you can't actually come back part-time. This is a full-time role.
I think that comes down to really clear expectations and I guess to play devil's advocate, whilst I'm fortunate enough to not have to play that card, for some businesses, the part-time thing just isn't appropriate.
Yeah.
But I feel very upset for her that wasn't communicated from the get-go before she even went on leave, like that you will need to come back in this capacity. I think that that's
that transparency
awful.
is so important.
Yeah, and also it goes both ways. Like if your plans do change and you need to extend, or you need to, like Danny's coming back a little bit earlier than we initially planned, and that was like music to my ears. But like she brought that up with me ages ago. Like, would this even be a possibility? And how do we work that if it is a thing? And I was like,
can you come back
any sooner?
You sure I don't want to come back even sooner?
So I think that, I can't stress how important communication really is, and honesty in your expectations on both part and why, and being curious and assuming positive intent during those conversations.
Like Jack and I, my eldest daughter started school this year, and Jack and I had conversations when I was 4 months pregnant with my second pregnancy about whether or not we could make it work around school drop-offs and pickups.
And I'm very much relying on those conversations for when it's relevant for me as well. That you've established what that can look like.
Those conversations happened really early.
Yeah. It's funny because we work with parents of school-age kids and that kind of thing, and it's like, how do you then, if your reason for leave was parental leave, what does that look like? Not only when you just return, but if you're hoping to stay with that company for a long period of time, when you've got kids that are school-aged and school holidays and all of that kind of thing. It's important to at least have conversations. And like you said, Jack, the earlier the better from your perspective in terms of being able to
But
come
also
up with
both
solutions.
perspectives. Like your
Yes.
girlfriend, like had she
To
known
have
earlier,
known that
she would have been
earlier.
able to make plans.
Yeah, and perhaps what her finishing up might have looked like. It might have looked different as well. Yeah.
Yikes. That sucks.
Thank you,
But
Jackie.
I feel like we should share some like what are some like practical kind of tips for coming back? What works?
I think even on a practical level, like again, I really, I guess, like authenticity and sincerity are like my values. So I think my team really know that. So people have, whatever the type of leave, I've always felt like I've really tried to be approachable in that regard and not penalize anyone for that. I know that not everywhere is necessarily, has that level of, I guess, psychological safety sometimes to have those conversations. Like some people really feel the need to hide pregnancies and those kinds of things because they don't feel that they, I guess, or that they might be penalised.
Yeah, if there's not security around their
role or how that might look. So I guess we want to acknowledge that we're just speaking from our experiences. So when we say like lots of notice and being transparent, we're well aware that may not necessarily be the case
that
for
is a
everyone.
fortunate position for us to be in.
Yeah. So I guess timing and transparency and planning is really important, and openness with expectations and putting from my perspective, putting things in writing. Because so often
that's purely from an executive dysfunction perspective.
That is right.
Practical.
I mean, I'm sure it's a fair work requirement too, but I'm like, please just put it in an email. If you've like texted me or slacked me the date, you will get multiple follow-ups.
Yeah,
I'm like, what were those dates again? Far out. When do you finish? So I think like, putting stuff in writing so that you both have a reference point to actually come back to is important.
Yeah.
And I think, like Danny said, whether there is possibility to use keeping in touch if that's appropriate to your role and how that might look, so that if you need to plan that in, and again, if that changes to kind of, keep that up to date, but also being aware of the logistics of your registration. And I know
absolutely,
OTA,
that's a really good point.
our BAM endorsement,
email
things like
them
that.
when you can and say, what do I need to do? What does it look like?
Yeah, because the BAM endorsement, if you are a Better Access to Mental Health or a mental health endorsed clinician under OTA, bear in mind they will give you a 12-month hiatus, I guess, but it needs to be in writing, and you need to pay your OTA membership for 12 months.
And you also need to let them know as soon as you're back, because otherwise they'll just let it lapse.
And so then you have to reapply.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Anyone who's done that application knows you do not.
You hold on to that thing very closely.
Absolutely.
So looking into the logistics of your registration and I guess jotting down some of like your goals, or like if you do have any learning goals or things that you do still want to address while you're away or pick up when you get back. I think that can help you to sort of, when you do step back into the role, to kind of anchor and be like, where was my head at when I did take this leave from work, and what am I wanting to pick back up, and have a bit of a review around that so that we can actually bring that relevance back into your role as quickly as possible. But just realize as well that what will your gradual return to work look like? Because it may be that you're building up a caseload again. It may be that you actually just need some training time and things to get around new policies, new procedures, new client management software.
True.
I actually purposely put my return to work, my first day back, on a Friday because it's a work from home day. So I was like, at least I can like get my head around things without wanting to socialize with other people, because I'm going to be so excited to do that. But I need to like read through my 350 emails that I have sitting there, which are the ones that I didn't open during my keeping in touch days.
My one like practical tip is like time your return. So for us, we see kids in the school term. I think I came back in the second last week of the term prior. Did 2 weeks of just like, honestly, email sorting. And then the holidays meant a little bit more time to kind of get on top of things, do some intakes.
That's it.
In a less demanding way, I guess. So that was really helpful for me. And also when I went through my inbox, I learned very quickly, like, start at the top, not at the like oldest, because you start sorting through and you're like, this procedure has changed 12 times.
That is such a good
All
point.
those
Thank you.
previous emails can just go away because the most current ones are the most relevant ones.
Yeah.
So practically they were very helpful tips for me coming back.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for sharing your insights,
Hopefully
gals.
it was helpful.
Yeah. And as we said, they're personal experiences and everyone's extended period of leave will be for different reasons and that kind of thing. So we're speaking, like you said, Jac, from a taking maternity leave perspective, but hopefully it was helpful in terms of some tips and the importance of staying connected if you can. And
Listen to
kind of thing.
podcasts. That really helps. This
Yeah.
one specifically.
Especially
Well
if you're
done,
in
Danni.
the car with a sleeping baby and stuff. Podcasts are great.
Absolutely. The self-compassion one. I know we're
Compassion one.
That is a very good point. Very good point.
I guess to stress, like, as hard as it is, like, I guess, I really want to drum home that self-compassion piece, but it really is like leaning into the fact and accepting that there will be change.
Yeah.
And leaning on the supports and actually kind of getting okay with the change yourself first, and then realizing and hopefully tapping into people that can accept that new phase as well.
Yeah.
And yes, it can be parenthood. It can be being a, new dog mum that we've
Absolutely.
we've got a few of those on the team that, just juggling more outside of work, whether it's being a mum, whether it's taking on new things,
mental
whether
loads.
it's
Moving
mental
house.
loads,
Moving
moving
house.
house, traveling,
Caring for someone. Yeah.
all of those kinds of things. Like, we understand that there's, life is full on.
They also
So,
often come with emotions.
yeah.
Like whether they be comfortable or less comfortable emotions, like giving yourself the time to actually work through those emotions as well. Because, we're humans.
Yeah. And we love our job, but it is just a job.
Yeah.
Like, work-life balance gets thrown around so much, but it is so important. And for us, like, especially for me, it's kind of realizing that it's not work life, like some kind of weird split where you clock on, clock off.
Yeah.
It's actually learning for them both to kind of coexist in harmony.
Yeah.
It's one pie, Jac.
It's one pie, and it's not an even split sometimes. And getting comfy with that has taken me, well, I'll let you know.
I was going to say,
We'll do a part two.
actually,
Progress. But we're nearly 3 years in and I'm slowly coming to terms with it. So we hope that that's given people a bit of insight and practical tips. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.